Gaurav, it's a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure.
You had a blockbuster IPO of FireEye. Whenever a company goes this big, there's always talk about not just the CEO and the founder, but the investor who went along the ride. So I wanted to ask you, when I met Asha 3 years ago, it was doing really good, but it was not where it's supposed to be, to take off. And 3 years, it's amazing change. You discussed this in the keynote that you just gave. I wanted to touch base on that again. How do these companies who are doing some amazing intelligence work go through this phase of the trap and then coming out before the IPO?
Well, it really comes down to whether you are solving a problem that is unsolved and whether it's a problem that people are willing to pay for. And then there's all the rest of the stuff that goes along with building a company, having good support, having good salespeople. But the core of it is having a unique product that solves a problem that people will pay for. And that's exactly what happened at this company.
As a VC, what do you do different than others to get this big hit? Everybody tries this. So we're going to learn from you individually.
Well, you got to admit that with the risks we take in these early stage companies, some of it is luck. And we are peering 5 years into the future in this incredible fog of uncertainty with convictions that are based on our experience. The three things that matter to me personally are, is there a big market? Does the founder have real founder DNA, which translates to conviction in the product, the desire and drive to build a big company, that they're not a mercenary, but they're really committed to the cause. And then the third thing is the business that you're in a good neighborhood. For example, building semiconductors for cell phones is a huge market, but it's a really tough business because there's only 10 customers worldwide. So are you in a neighborhood where you can have a business with good margins, with a diversity of customers so that you don't have a lot of pricing compression and all these bad things that can happen? So to us and to me, if you have those three things, you have something interesting.
Gaurav, when you look back to your days when you started Redback, and now you look at the current breed of entrepreneurs, I think there's always this opportunity for a good entrepreneur. If you can have the finger on the pulse of the market. When you go out and seek new opportunities with emerging entrepreneurs, what are some of the similarities you see, and what are these things that are different you see in the emerging entrepreneurs now, when you started Redback as an entrepreneur?
Oh, wow. They are all much hungrier, much smarter, much more motivated than I ever was. And that is the great pleasure of this business, that I get to hang out with people like Ashar or some of today's founders, because they keep, Ashar's older to me, but most of these guys are younger at this point. But they keep me young, and you get to watch them grow up, you get to watch yourself change and evolve and grow up, and it's the greatest pleasure of all.
And the broader ecosystem in the emerging economies, example is India, there's a lot of interest in the last 5-6 years in terms of evolving entrepreneurs. There's a big ecosystem that is taking shape. When you see these kind of opportunities in emerging markets, and I took the example of India, where do you see the big two trends that you think you will be interested in investing?
I don't really invest outside the Bay Area much anymore. There's so much opportunity in the Bay Area at a time where the front-end platform is moving to mobile and the back-end platform is moving to the cloud, and away from being caught behind the walls of the corporation and on Windows PCs. That as a new venture firm, we are not looking at opportunities in emerging markets, or really, for the most part, outside of the West Coast.
Personally for you, when you transition from entrepreneurship to a VC, so there's a roadmap. Most immigrants who come here, go to schools, become good professionals,
Right.
get the opportunity to become entrepreneur, then to transition to a VC. It's a big cycle. So for you, you think the challenge was from the professional to becoming an entrepreneur, exiting a big company like Red Bag Networks, or from being a successful entrepreneur now transitioning to a successful VC?
Oh, without a doubt, the transition from being an entrepreneur to being a venture capitalist is much harder because the world keeps changing on you and you have to keep learning new things for a very, very, very long period of time. The transition from being an engineer to being an entrepreneur, you are learning new things, but it happens in a very compressed time frame, 2 to 4 years, and it's excruciating emotionally, but it is not the same learning curve and slope that you have to have as a venture capitalist because you're doing it in the context of an ever-changing environment.
Okay. Emerging entrepreneurs always think that money is going to solve the problem. That's why they go try either the angel route or the VC route. The first question, any emerging entrepreneur wants to ask is, how do I get the money? But that is not the solution to address the need. So
Right.
Wanted your advice on that.
The question I would ask all entrepreneurs to ask themselves is this something they want to do for 5 or 7 years? Do they feel it's important enough to devote their life to it at 100 hours a week for that period of time? And if it is worth it, the money will always take care of itself. So,
finally, what motivates you personally? At this stage, as a successful VC, you have done the entrepreneurship route. You're at a stage where you look at the world from a different angle, I suppose.
It's the pleasure of working with founders like Ashar Aziz. And they come in all flavors. They all have different personalities. But what is common is their desire to prove everybody else wrong and to, not in the sense that Steve Jobs would talk about it, but in their own way, put a dent in the ecosystem. And that gives all of us great pleasure because you get to watch, you get to stand on the shoulders of giants and look at the world through their eyes.
Gaurav, it's truly a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.